Turn it up, swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 54. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you once again for tuning in. Episode number 54. Fun fact about 54. It is the number of colored squares on a Rubik's Cube. That's how many squares you have to put together, all together, to solve a Rubik's Cube. And if you're like me, you never did it. Or if you're like one of those dudes on the internet who has the formula, you've done it 1,000 times. Nobody's done it like once. I don't think anybody solved a Rubik's Cube once and then like never again. It's all or nothing with the Rubik's Cube. My guests on the show today, it is a great show. You're going to have a great time. I have got Mike Chapman and Joe Neate, and they are the producers of a new pirate video game called Sea of Thieves. Designer and producer. Mike's the designer and Joe's the producer. We had a really great talk. You are going to dig this one. And I think it's going to be for Microsoft and desktop is the format for the games. And if you want to find out, they work for a company called Rare Games. And if you want to check them out, that's at rare.co.uk. Yep, talking to some British dudes today. Yeah. And, of course, you can find out more about the game at seaofthieves.com. It's a great talk. You're really going to dig it. And these guys are passionate about video game design and pirates and all sorts of stuff. So fun talk. Busy week. Busy week. Oh my gosh. Yesterday I got home after a week of shows, and my favorite thing to do yesterday was talk to nobody. I talked to my girlfriend yesterday. That was it. Other than that, I kept my mouth shut. And I was very excited to not talk to anybody because it was a talking to everybody kind of week between Sunday and Saturday. Talking. I had shows the whole time. I was at the Burbank Comedy Festival. Lots of fun. Did a bunch of sets there. Met some cool industry-type people, all that good stuff. Also popped in for a set at the Ice House on my night off from the festival. Ice House, one of my favorite clubs in the country. That was super fun. Had lunch, had lunch with my friend Chris Valenti, who you heard on episode 2 or 3 of this show as the musical guest, and he's doing great. He's got some scripts that are in production right now, and that's good stuff. He's also working on a musical, neat stuff. Got together with my pal Jeff Sornig, who is working at Nickelodeon. He gave me a tour of Nickelodeon, the whole offices, the places. I saw where they create SpongeBob SquarePants. I did. They have like a blow-up palm tree. But that was fun. Always good to see Jeff. Jeff and I worked on a music video together for a song I wrote called Super Dan, maybe a year and a half ago. Anyway, I'll put that in the show notes. You can check it out. It came out fantastic. The song is great, and the video is even better. It's about a drunken superhero called Super Dan. It's lots of fun. And then I actually got an interview in. I went and talked to Erica Innes, the writer and director of a pirate short called Pool Pirates, which I was in. And we finally got a chance to sit down and talk Pool Pirates. That's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, and you'll be able to see the short, which you are going to totally dig. I also finally got over to Jackie Cation's place to do her podcast, The Dork Forest. And what did we dork out on for an hour? Pirates. Yeah, of course. Right. Right? We talked about pirates for an hour. So that is coming out next week, I think. I believe she said that was going to be out for the August 30th episode. Me on The Dork Forest talking pirates. So check that out. Big news. You want to talk some big pirate podcast news? Check this out. All right, you ready? Here it comes. Are you ready? Here it comes. We're going to do this. Ready? Live podcast on September the 19th. You know what September the 19th is, right? That is Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yes. As I was driving down to Burbank, I got an email from Chris at the Pirate Art Department. They're a set design company in Hollywood there. And he said, hey, we're taking over the Story Tavern on September 19th. We want you to come and do a live podcast that night. And so we're doing that. September the 19th at the Story Tavern in Burbank, California. We are going to be doing the very first live Under the Crossbones recording hosted by the Pirate Art Department. And I'll be talking to those guys, and I will have other guests, and we'll have comedy, and we'll have music. And I don't know who any of those other people are going to be yet. We're working on that, but it's Hollywood, man. I'm going to come up with somebody cool, I'm sure. So put that on your calendar if you are in the area. On September the 19th, Burbank, California, at the Story Tavern. Come and hang out with us for a live podcast. Oh, yes. 2 of the shows I did last week, I was surprise comedy. I had I played a private birthday party, and I did a corporate event. And in both cases, I was surprise comedian. The people in the audience did not know there was going to be comedy. And if there is one thing that does not work in this world, it is surprise comedy. Yeah, People never want surprise comedy. Comedy is a thing that you have to be in the right frame of mind for. And surprise comedy, where you go, oh, guess what? We got a comedian. Those people don't know what's going on when a guy with long hair and a shiny red shirt gets up on stage and starts telling jokes. Stand-up comedy is a very particular format of art, and you have to be in the right frame of mind for it. So surprise comedy, don't do that. If you're hiring a comedian for anything, don't surprise the audience with comedy. Just tell them that there's going to be a comedian there. It will work much better. I promise you that. Anyway, so yes, I came home on Sunday and I talked to nobody. I slept late and I did talk to the lady at the ticket booth at the movie theater because I went to see Sausage Party. My girlfriend was out with her friends, so I went to see Sausage Party, and I will advise you to save your $12. If you've, I dig Seth Rogen. I like all that kind of stuff. I thought the plot idea, the premise for the movie, cool, whatever. I'll put it this way. If you've read the reviews, you've seen the movie, because there was nothing new in the movie that I hadn't already heard about in the reviews. And the jokes and the gags were pretty obvious. It was nothing that I wouldn't have written also probably in a first draft. But it was okay. Wait for it on Netflix. Watch it on Netflix. It'll be good there. But don't spend your $12 on it. But anyway, that was my one day off. Back on the road this week. Lots of shows. Tuesday, August 23rd, I will be at O'Malley's Pub in Mountain View, California. Popping in for a set there. These are short sets for the most part this week because I'm working out my set for the World Series of Comedy next week. So I'm just going in and banging out, 4 minutes here, 8 minutes there, that kind of stuff. On Wednesday, the 24th, I will be at the San Jose Improv, popping in for a quick 4-minute set. But I guarantee you're going to dig the show because it's Sal Kalani and Reggie Steele, two of my favorite comedians in the Bay Area, and you should definitely come and see those. If you use you can get free tickets on the Improv website for this show if you use the code LOYAL, LOYAL, LOYAL. Use that code. Come on out and see Sal Kalani and Reggie Steele August 24th at the San Jose Improv. Like I said, I'm popping in for a quick set too. August 25th, I'll be at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz, California. August the 26th, that is Friday, I'll be at the Lucky Penny Community Performing Arts Center in Napa, California. That's going to be a long set. That's a full-length set right there. August the 27th, I will be at the Spice Monkey in Oakland, California, where I seem to be a lot. And then next week, August 29th through September 3rd, I will be at the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas. Always fun. It's like comedy summer camp. And you can catch my first set Tuesday, August the 30th at the 7 p.m. show. And if I do well there, you'll catch me later in the week, and I will not have to look ashamed for the rest of the week for not having a good set on Tuesday, because I'm going to have a good set on Tuesday. That's what I keep telling myself. That's going to happen. And if you're not in any of those areas where I'm having shows, I'm coming from where you are: Washington, Oregon, Florida, Illinois, Wisconsin. It's all coming up. Go to underthecrossbones.com and click on the tour dates button, and you can check out all my stuff. And if I'm still not coming to your area, you can still see me because you can catch my specials, Pretty from the Back, and the other one called Be Yourself Unless You're an Idiot. Those are all online everywhere. If you're a Prime member on Amazon, you can watch it for free, or you can rent it and buy it for cheap there. The audio versions are on Spotify and iTunes, and you can catch it on my website, philjohnsoncomedy.com. There is no reason to have not seen my comedy because it's everywhere. But people are watching on Amazon. It's pretty interesting because I put it up there. I haven't really promoted it that much, but people are watching on Amazon. I have made $3 so far. It's not a big money maker, but people are watching it. They've watched a lot of it too. That's a lot of minutes of watching that have netted me $3. Oh, boy. Yeah, so with that in mind, if you want to support this show, that would be awesome of you. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. You can pop some money in the PayPal donation box right there. You can also click on the Amazon banner, head on over to Amazon, buy yourself something nice, watch one of my specials while you're there, and I get a little kickback for that. It doesn't cost you anything at all, but it does help support the show. And if you want to be a sponsor of the show, if you've got a product or a service that you think a pirate audience would dig, hook me up. Let's do it. Hook me up. I'm going to hook you up. It's a way bigger hookup for you. It's cheap. It's easy. Just contact me at phil@underthecrossbones.com and we'll get it hooked up. Make sure you're following us online as well. Facebook /underthecrossbones, Twitter /undercrossbones. And of course, you can get all the show notes for this show at underthecrossbones.com/054. All right. I'm going to shut up now. You ready to get into the interview? So here it is. This is Mike Chapman and Joe Neate from Rare Games talking about the video game Pirates Sea of Thieves. Check it out. new game is called Sea of Thieves. Tell me about just the basic log line of the game.
Yes, Sea of Thieves is a cooperative adventure game where you can be the pirate that you want to be. So you can form pirate crews with your friends and go on adventures in this pirate world. But at the same time, you can encounter other ships and other crews in the world, and they're all real players. So when you see another ship in the world, you know that that's got real players on it. And you can imagine all the scenarios that could come out of that, where you're out there on a voyage together, you've got treasure on your ship, and you can board somebody else's and take their treasure, and someone can take yours. So it's this kind of pirate sandbox that we're creating where all these kind of emergent things can happen in it.
Yeah, but Mike missed the most important thing there, which is when he called it a co-op adventure kind of game. What it actually is a shared world adventure game, and the acronym for that is a SWAG. So that's he missed the most important part.
I was just teeing up for you.
You have to have the swag in there. That's the best part. That's great.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a gamer myself. As anything past, well, let's see. I had an Atari 2600 and a Commodore 64. Yeah. So past that, I don't know a whole lot.
With the Commodore 64 as well. So
Spectrum for me.
Yeah. So
nice.
we had more colors. We had more colors than Mike.
Yeah.
Like, he's still bitter.
Great. So I will ask stupid questions. Is what I'm trying to get at with that. Because I don't play much anymore. So there are quite a few pirate games out on the market now. What differentiates yours from some of the stuff that's out there?
Well, I think like a lot of them are single player experiences. Like I guess Black Flag is a really popular game. It's obviously a great game. It had lots of fans. But what we're doing is pretty unique, where it's not just you in the world with just your friends. You're sharing this world with other players, mm-hmm. and what that means is that when you're out there on adventures, you're doing quests together, because the presence of other real players in that shared world, like anything can happen. You don't know when you're going to encounter other players. And all these kind of emergent stories can occur. And we're also kind of not doing kind of dry, realistic, gritty pirates. Like the tone of the experience is really important for us. So like you might have seen some of the coverage we got at E3, where we had drinking grog in there and we had musical instruments. It feels much more fun. It feels like your idea of what a pirate fantasy would be, kind of calling back to like all those kind of piratey tropes from like Treasure Island or like Peter Pan or Monkey Island, like all these kind of ideas of what pirates are. It's not dry and serious. It's kind of making the most of what pirates can be in people's minds.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, like when Mike talks about this kind of shared world with other players, the magic of our experience, right, is that you'll be there, you're on your ship, but you're in first person as well. So you're really that means the camera view is kind of inside the character's head, almost through the eyes, right? You're not like looking at a character controlling them, moving around. You're really there. You're in the world. You're on this ship. You're with other players there. But if you're maybe you're in the crow's nest and you're looking out over the horizon, looking down a telescope, when you see that set of sails on the horizon, the only thing you'll know, at that point, is that that's going to be another kind of crew of players, like real human players, and you don't know what they want. And from every kind of naval film I've seen or TV show or even book I've read, right, that's the kind of magical moment where you're looking through the telescope, you're seeing this, and you're kind of like, what do they want? Who are they, right? Are those guys chasing me? Are they just kind of minding their own business, going out somewhere else? Like, what do they want? And you're going to know that they're kind of thinking the same thing. And those encounters out on the open sea are that's everything I've ever wanted to kind of do when I've watched those films, I've seen those TV shows. And you get that magic of encountering like other crews, other players. It could be from anywhere in the world. They could be really bloodthirsty. It's like, if you were encountering Blackbeard in the real world and you were in a kind of smaller ship or whatever, you'd have that kind of emotion. But that could happen in our game. There could be players that have styled themselves to be, the Blackbeard of our world, and they're going around. Or maybe it's someone that's looking to trade and they want to team up and maybe take something down, a big creature in the world. And, we want to give players that freedom in this world. It really is a kind of like for want of a better phrase, it's kind of like a real role-playing game, right, where you can just play the roles of pirates however you want. And we're giving you this world to do it. And like Mike says, we're doing it in the tone that we believe is really right for this experience. There's it's not that like really kind of, I guess, completely accurate historical 17th century, like all that, like it's more the mythos of the pirate world and the creatures that maybe people think about when they see the films and they read the books. That's the thing that we really want to bring to players.
Yeah. And there's been so many times when we've played a playtest and we've gone, oh, it's like that thing that happened in the film. Just recently, I'm sure like the listeners are very familiar with Master and Commander, like the books and the film, but just that one scene in the film when you kind of they come across the kind of crest of an island and they get surprised by an enemy ship that's in the bay, and then kind of think, oh, we didn't know an enemy ship was here, and then they run back to their ship. That happened in a playtest to us recently, and it's just these kind of magical moments that happen that you don't plan for, and it makes the game feel dynamic and fresh every time you play.
Yeah, and that reminds me, and I know we're doing a lot of talking here, but we've got so many stories, right?
That's cool.
So I was watching Black Sails again recently, and there's it's an episode of the most recent series. I don't think it's the most recent episode, but it's about halfway through. But basically, Flint is being chased, and I think might have been Hornigold, but don't quote me. But he decided to kind of run into the storm in his ship and take the risk, basically, of kind of death for his men and everything else. Uh-huh. And in our prototype, we've totally prototyped those kind of experiences, right, around weather conditions and storms and stuff. And we've done exactly the same thing. And I was literally watching the show, watching them kind of control the sails, raise them up to try and stop damage to them because the mast was starting to sway, and they were risking speed versus kind of the risk of danger to their ship and all that kind of stuff. And we've literally prototyped all this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty close to what we've done. and I think it was he tied himself to the wheel, right? And we don't have that mechanic. And I was like, maybe you should tie yourself to the wheel to stop yourself being kind of swept overboard. But it was just it's so cool to be able to watch these things and go, yeah, you can kind of do that, or maybe we should take inspiration from that, right? It's like that, I think that's our game. That's the magic, right? That you get.
And I know exactly the episode you're talking about. It was a fantastic episode, yeah. And so, and of course, in this world, Blackbeard would be played by a 12-year-old troll from Florida.
Right. But it's like, there's not. And when I say a Blackbeard, like you're not going to be able to play the character Blackbeard, sure. But we want players to become the kind of legendary pirates of our world, or the legendary ships, the Black Pearls and everything, right? Yeah. Like the what players do, how they behave, how they show up, the kind of the things, the activities they undertake, and how they treat other players, and how they show up in our community. All of those things will feed into kind of creating legends of the game. We want players to become these legends in our world, and like that's, for me as a player, that's a super cool promise, right? Yeah. And it's it's not like a traditional leaderboard in a game where it's the amount of wins you've got in FIFA gets you to the top of a leaderboard, which is cool and a great goal for that type of game. Ours is I think a more readily aspirational thing, and something that's more emotional than it is actually a bunch of numbers going up,
Yeah, and I've seen the trailers for the game, and it looks really fantastic. Is this sort of a seismic shift in video game design, in that the game is going to be different every time, and to the point where something like cheat codes don't even exist anymore because there's really no point or use in them?
It's kind of like most games out there, and don't get me wrong, there's a place for all these kinds of experiences, right? And you play kind of different things, different times, different moods, but the shift is that you're creating this world, and you're giving players a set of tools and a way to traverse that world, and you're handing it over to them. You're not kind of saying, well, these are your definitive goals, this is what you definitely need to do, and you can only play this way. You're kind of saying, well, in our case, here's a ship, here's a quest, here's some tools, do what you want. Like the way you can progress in the game, if you want to customize your pirate, if you want to customize your ship, you can do that, but we're not going to enforce any particular way to play. You choose the role on the ship, you choose what you want to go after. It's all in your hands. So it really does feel like we're creating this world for players that we're going to hand over to them, and just not knowing exactly how players are going to play is really fascinating.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's like And we want to get it into players' hands earlier than we've kind of done before. As a games developer, right, and with our history in the industry, generally what you kind of do is you work on a game for a set period of time, year and a half, 2 years, maybe longer, and you have your design, you have your plan, and you just work through it. You work through it for that amount of time. As you get to the end, you work really hard, right, and you try and cram as much stuff as you can get in because you think it's going to have one release, right? We're just going to get this. It's going to get into store. It's going to get in your Best Buy, your Target, your GameStop, or whatever. People are going to buy it. They're going to play it, and they're going to kind of play the game you intended. And then they're going to put it down, and then they're going to play something else. Whereas we want to get that core experience of just adventuring, being a pirate in this world with shared players into people's hands, and then grow it and evolve it, and do that based on how people are playing, what they're doing, how they're treating others. We want to be reacting to it and adapting and listening to what they're saying. What's the what things do they really want to see, or what's really frustrating them about the experience? And growing and evolving alongside them, and we'll be out there on the rare boat, right, going out there in the world, like just filled up with grog and instruments and stuff on the party boat. Yeah. But we'll be in this world with players, and like that is it's like nothing I've ever worked on before, and it's so exciting. Like it's just but it's also scary for us as a developer, right? That we're going to be putting something into players' hands before much earlier than we've ever done before, and kind of. That's a bit of a leap of faith, right? But going to E3 and that was kind of the first step in it, where we got a bunch of people through playing what was a snapshot of the experience, right? Just one of the kind of highlights of it, really, the kind of core co-op experience of sailing that ship together, being able to encounter other ships and battle them. But that was us getting into players' hands early and seeing kind of how they reacted. And what was great about it was that we didn't have to put a bunch of tutorials in place, because I kind of everybody from their childhood and beyond to now, in some cases, knows exactly what it takes to be a pirate and exactly what you should be doing in this world. And you kind of almost wake up on an island and then there's a ship and like, how do I get that going? You're like, well, probably gonna have to raise the anchor, right? Like, and use the capstan to raise the anchor. The capstan is a term I've learned on this project. And then get the sails down a bit, and look, we can angle them, and you can catch the wind because I can see the wind. And players naturally just work together to do it, and they cooperatively do it. One of them gets on the wheel, and he's like, the sails are a bit in my way, I can't really see. And so the guy jumps in the crow's nest and starts directing. And we just see time and time again, players just do it, and we really wanted that to happen. We didn't want a convoluted tutorial where it's like press Y for fun and press B to crouch and kind of break the immersion for players. Yeah. We just want to put players in our world and go, you kind of know what to do. Yeah. You kind of know what your aspiration is as a pirate. Go and do it.
That's really great, because it sounds like it might even be something easier to get into for people like me who don't play video games on a regular basis, because it sounds like it's more intuitive than just mashing buttons like I would normally do.
There'll be a learning curve, but I think just in terms of generally around the controls of a game, right? Like those kind of things, there's always a bit of learning, but naturally in terms of what your goals are and what you're going to want to go and do, like you should totally be able to pick that up. And it's like if you discover a map, you're going to be like, and there's an X on it. Like, what shall I do with this? Right? It's you're naturally going to know how to play.
Yeah, I think one of going really into your early question, kind of the key difference, what's unique about Sea of Thieves versus other experiences, is that it's not like other games in the sense that in a multiplayer experience, who wins is the person with the fast reactions. It's really all about the relationships within a crew. The difference between like a kind of a poor crew and an excellent crew, it really comes down to that teamwork. Are they working together? Are they, when the ship takes damage, are they sharing the roles? Are people going down to patch up the ship and stop the water coming in? Are they angling their sails into the wind and sailing kind of efficiently using the wind? It's kind of how they work together and how they share those roles and how they switch up the roles. It's in the player's hand, and communication is a big part of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And is in a game like this where there's essentially no ending, do you find that there are some players who that ending of a game is their reward, that fight the big boss, get the prize at the end, and that's what they want, versus players who are more interested in just a really open-ended game like this? Do those two camps exist out there?
I think so. I think that's an important thing for us, where I think we recognize with Sea of Thieves as a game, as a theme, especially with the theme of pirates and the theme of kind of like adventuring in this world, it's going to appeal to a very broad range of players. there'll be players out there. I mean, this is something I'm really passionate about, which is I'd love Sea of Thieves to be someone's first multiplayer experience. And maybe they come to Sea of Thieves. Maybe they're into pirates, or maybe they want to go on an adventure game. Maybe they want to feel that kind of, I'm adventuring in this immersive world. But there's also people out there who want to have a great multiplayer experience with their friends, or they love playing co-op games on Xbox Live. And I think people are going to come to the game with different motivations. The players who want to explore, or they want to feel like they've got to collect everything. The players that want to customize their character, or they just want to hang out with their friends. And it's important that the game can meet all of those different motivations, and there'll be meaningful progression in those areas. That's a big goal for us.
One of the things I often think about with these things is that the world of video games coming closer to the world of reality, and also the world of filmmaking. How are video games becoming more like filmmaking, or is filmmaking becoming more like video games?
So I guess there's two ways to look at that. There's kind of the So what was the first part, before you mentioned filmmaking, what was the first part of your question?
Well, the idea with these multiplayer games is that a lot of these, especially the multiplayer games, are becoming sort of an alternate reality type of idea, where people can, have, not to say, I mean, Second Life being the obvious example, but where there's a life inside of the game as well as real life.
Yeah, I think like games that have like place role playing as kind of the part of the experience, that's kind of it's the ultimate escapism. And I think a lot of multiplayer games, a lot of recent multiplayer games, whether it's like DayZ or kind of EVE Online, you kind of feel like you're playing the role of kind of somebody else in the game. And for escapists, I think that's a really big draw. In terms of, I mean, I guess it's kind of in terms of like filmmaking, I guess the production of making a game, just the scale of it, is that in that way it's like a film, in the sense that you've got kind of the VFX team on a game, like is like the skill set they bring is very similar to what a similar team would bring to a film. That kind of the level of fidelity in terms of graphics and production values is approaching kind of films, where films hire world-class people to build these experiences. And I think we're similar in that way.
But we've definitely not chased the kind of latest fidelity, the latest technology as a rule of kind of thumb for our game. We wanted our game to kind of look timeless, because and so the art style that we've chosen for that is very much around, you can come to this game in 5 years' time and it's still going to look great. It's not going to have aged massively, because we based it all on chasing the latest technology and the kind of latest visual tricks. We wanted this style to kind of, that's been very much a painted kind of art style look, a bit wonky around the edges as well. If you look at how the ships are kind of built, and everything looks like it's lived in and worn down. But we personally chose that because we want this game to exist over a longer period of time than like, again, you go and watch a film with the latest CG. That's gonna be dated by 5 years time, right? We don't want that. And so we're not chasing that same dream as a lot of kind of, I guess, CG blockbusters or anything else.
No.
It's we wanted this timeless so people can come in and play and exist in it for as long as they want, right? And come back to it as well. Like, hey, put it down for a year, but come back and see what's changed.
I would say we're similar. Joe might disagree, but it's similar in terms of kind of the creative process of some movies. Kind of like, for example, when James Cameron started building Avatar, he didn't start with just a script for the film. He wanted to build a cinematic universe where this is the world building. Kind of you working on what are the internal rules of how the world works. What's the kind of creatures of that world? What's the lore of the world? And then he kind of, I'm going to create a script set in that world. I think in the way we approach Sea of Thieves, we want lore to be really important. And that sense of place where you kind of know how everything works, and we can add new content, but it all kind of fulfills that same creative goal. In that sense, and the way we approach the world of Sea of Thieves, I'd say we're similar.
That's a great shout, to be honest. Yeah, it really is. I think the end goal is different, and the very much different, right? But you're trying to take people on a blockbuster ride for 2.5 hours or whatever, right? Whereas that's not us, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a lot of similarities in the creative process. Right?
Yeah.
It's actually a lot bigger job than a film, it seems like, and it sort of it makes me think about the future of storytelling when it comes to virtual reality and things like that, which has been on my mind a lot because I'm a writer, and the way that storytelling will have to change dramatically when we can't make people look in one direction anymore.
It's super interesting. I'm not the biggest expert on virtual reality, unfortunately. Sure. I know Mike's got.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we've played with the Oculus and stuff. We've had that. Have you got an Oculus?
I've got the prototype one, not the latest release one, but I've got the DK2.
Yeah,
had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that was swimming under the water in that with like a shark going overhead or a great, what was it, a big blue whale?
Yes, you had manta rays.
Yeah, crikey, that was an experience.
Nice. I'm jealous. I'm sitting here with just a Google Cardboard, but that's blowing my mind already. So. Yeah. If we're talking about, you were talking about, the players creating their own legends and becoming legendary within the game. Are there going to be resources outside of the game for players to congregate and things like that? Or will it just be you walk into a tavern, and I keep hearing about this one guy is it going to be really organic like that, or do you have other resources? Yeah,
so we want to kind of put crews of like-minded players together in the game and external to the game. Mm-hmm. Like a big part of the kind of recent E3 show in terms of like Xbox's showing was kind of looking for group and clubs. So these are kind of systems that sit outside of the game and they're part of the Xbox platform. But what they allow you to do is to find kind of like-minded players who, like in terms of Sea of Thieves, may be motivated by the same kinds of things. So, and they want to play at the same time as you. And I think that in particular is really complementary to the experience we're building, where kind of the best experience for us is when you're on there, you're in this pirate world, on this pirate ship, adventuring with your friends. It's such a magical experience, and we want to have ways in the game for players to kind of make matches easily and forge connections and friendships in the game. But it's also important that we support that external to the game as well.
Yeah. But and also I think we want to highlight really cool player stories as well. So the things that players have done in our game, like whether it's they'll go and post it on our forum or something, or they'll actually be recording their play sessions, or they'll be live streaming it on Twitch, or they'll stuck a video up on YouTube. If we see kind of cool stories about what players have done or the interactions they've had with other players or whatever it is, we want to celebrate those. We want to circulate them to our community, bring them to a wider audience, create stars in that way too, right? It's as much about the gameplay, but then how we celebrate it outside of it. Because these days games, there's a big kind of watchable component, I guess, of players love to watch other players do cool stuff. You can see this on Twitch and on YouTube, and some of the games Mike referenced, like EVE Online and DayZ, have had some incredible stories out of them. Whether that's articles around these massive kind of space battles in EVE Online, or where someone's infiltrated a massive clan and then brought it down from the inside and caused hundreds of thousands of dollars of virtual damage to this giant crew and fleet of ships, or it's just two people meeting in DayZ, and one person basically robbing the other guy who was new to the game, and then kind of feeling sorry for him that he'd done this. And so he takes his can opener away from him, but then gives him a screwdriver in return, and going, hey, this isn't quite as good, but this will help you survive. And the guy's like, oh, can I come with you? And I'm like, please, you know what you're doing. And he's like, dude, I just robbed you. That would be weird, but it's just a 5-minute video of just these two guys encountering the world, and it was just great because it's the kind of role playing within that world, and we value that kind of stuff, like players having those experiences in our game, and we want to bump it up and give it kind of coverage and everything else outside of the game. So I think that's a really important part of the whole thing for us.
That's interesting. Speaking of Xbox, are you guys using the motion controllers for the Kinect stuff for it? Or, are you getting off the couch and actually throwing a sword around?
No, we're not doing that.
Okay.
And so we're Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
So that's something that's fairly new to us as a studio for Rare. Traditionally it's been a console place. We've done a lot of different consoles over a lot of years and a lot of different generations. But this game is squarely kind of targeted at both PC and Xbox players, and we believe in treating them equally, and that means meeting the expectations of PC players around keyboard and mouse control, kind of field of view sliders. It's like all of the kind of key things that PC players expect, and it's a really cool opportunity for us to bring this game to an entirely new audience. But yeah, it's definitely using the controls that players feel most comfortable with.
Nice, that's good. What what do you wish you could do with a game that you can't do yet as designers?
Get it into players' hands. We're just not quite ready yet. But do you mean with any game, or like just in terms of?
Yeah, just as designers, what's the technical capability that you just don't have yet that you would like to have?
I don't know. I want to make the players cry. But I want to make a game that kind of creates that kind of emotion in players. And I think some have, but like I just think that that's a really powerful. Like I just want, I guess if I backtrack a little, I want to invoke a wide range of player emotions in people, right? And a lot of games have rage or anger, like when you're playing a first-person shooter and you keep getting shot in the face, or vice versa. There's a limited range of emotions that players feel. I think creating one that hits a wide range of player emotions is something that not many games have taken advantage of. And it's not a technical thing; it's a creative thing, I guess. It's a challenge that I think is something cool to kind of undertake. Really.
Yeah, I like that. I'll go back to my original, which is I think what I'm very passionate about is the idea that Sea of Thieves could change perceptions of multiplayer for some people. So there's naturally, and I empathise with a lot of people out there who kind of feel like maybe multiplayer is not for me. Maybe I'm just going to play single player games, or the idea of playing with other people is quite off-putting because of the games they've played. But the hope is that we can the new and interesting things we're doing in Sea of Thieves that can change some of those perceptions, and maybe it could be their first multiplayer game. That's what really inspires me.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And here's how you make a player cry. It's very easy. All you have to do is get them really hooked on the game, and then take the game away from them.
It's like candy from
I don't like the method people use.
No.
But actually, this does remind me. We had someone in for an interview a little while ago, and they played the prototype for the first time of our game. So we've, interestingly, the game we showed at E3 and the with all the visuals and all of the lovely water, the great water hashtag that was in the game. We actually have a really kind of rough and ready prototype that I won't insult too much in terms of how it looks, because our designers were the ones that did all the art for that. Great job, Andy, Shelley. But it was all about proving out the core experience really early. And so anyway, we had this lady in for an interview. She was great kind of candidate for the role. But we played the game, and there was a moment in there which I can't say what it was, but it was kind of centered around player death, and she actually cried playing the game because of what kind of happened at that moment, and. I thought she was joking when she was saying it, over the microphone, but she actually was, and she kind of explained to us afterwards why it made her feel that way, and it was that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I guess I kind of accidentally I've met that goal, right? But it's I just love seeing those kind of different emotions on that get triggered in players from playing the game, and it was a very cool and unexpected moment, I guess.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really interesting. And terrifying in some aspects, because if you don't have a good heart behind your game design, that could be dangerous. I can only imagine it's only going to be about 2 years before we find the first version of video game PTSD happening with somebody. Probably not from your game, but
fingers crossed it's not from ours.
Yeah. No. So what's the timeline? When do we see the game?
Yeah. So. Basically, we're kind of heads down right now, driving towards what I'm terming an early beta, right? So in video game parlance, there's a lot of betas are very much kind of almost a finished game that they're just putting out a week or two before, trying to get as many people playing it to kind of stress test it, and also to build buzz around the game before they then just do a full release and move on. For us, it's really about just driving towards this core experience of you and a bunch of friends going adventuring in this world together, and kind of meeting, like Mike talked about, just those initial core motivations of some people just want to explore, some maybe want to go and achieve something, get a quest under their belt, earn something, get some treasure, maybe spend it on something. And so we want to just get something that really just meets those motivations, and then just push it out there, and then start building and growing, based on our plans and our roadmap and based on what players are doing. And the thing about it is we know when, roughly when we want to get that out, but we don't want to call out a date, because it's not set in stone that we'll deliver exactly what we want by a day, in the future, and then we'll click a button and get it into players' hands. But like it's just our intention to do it as soon as we humanly can, basically, and that's the next goal. And so we've got a bunch of kind of social channels. We've got the Rare Twitter, the Sea of Thieves Twitter, we've got Facebook, and we've also got our forums. And through all of those, we're going to be communicating kind of about when it's like kind of like progress towards it, when it's coming, like, and so anybody who's really interested in being getting in there early, get involved in any of those channels, and that's where you'll start seeing information about that, and you'll get an idea of how close we are. But what I really hate, even as a consumer myself, is that when like people announce a date, and I know from the developer side of kind of the stress involved in trying to drive towards that and hit it, and then if you move it, like you get the perception of they've slipped, there must be problems, and players get annoyed at home. Like I just don't think that's a really healthy way of kind of of talking about kind of dates and everything. And I'd rather just go, hey, we're driving towards it. Rest assured that like it's our number one priority, and we want to get players in as soon as possible. But just if you want to know more, get involved on our social channels, get involved in the forums, and because those are the type of players we want to get in first too, right? The keenest players, the ones that are super keen. Get those guys in, get them playing, and then grow from there.
Great. So seaofthieves.com would be the main place to go to get links to all that various social channel stuff?
Yeah, so seaofthieves.com should have the links to all of that. Yeah, that's where the forums are. And then if you want to jump onto Twitter or anything else, that's at Sea of Thieves on Twitter. But yeah, seaofthieves.com is the main place to go.
Great. Fantastic. Well, guys, this has been really fun. I'm glad we got a chance to get this together through missing emails and all sorts of stuff. This is good. Is there anything I missed, didn't ask you about that you want people to know about?
I guess like what's like for you, so you've not played games for a while. Is this the type of game that would kind of maybe bring you back and get you involved? What's your thoughts around it? What are your expectations around the pirate game?
It definitely does sound interesting. I'm having not been my main reasons for not playing video games are just that my own schedule is so packed I rarely have time to sit down and do anything like that, and I'm not a gamey competitive person in general, except for in my own businesses. So my game is life. It's building a fan base. It's making more money, and that takes up all of my game energy for the most part, which is why I don't play games much. My girlfriend, on the other hand, loves games. Anything that involves stacking 3 things together so they disappear, she's all over it. So even between the two of us, a game that extensive doesn't necessarily fit into the way that we play, but that being said, it really does sound interesting and is probably something I'd sit down and at least try out because of the theme I like, but also because I think it's just really interesting to be able to play with other people, and I've never really done that before. I was always sort of a solo player.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of my background too, right? I'm historically a fairly antisocial gaming player, right? That's just generally been my stance, but there's something super magic about being in this shared world, and it's just that moment you see a ship and you're like, who are they, right? And even in our studio, that's kind of cool. When you're playing, with a few other crews of developers that it's still cool. But like what I've yet to experience myself is going out there into the real world and encountering other players and other crews in there, and that's something I'm so looking forward to. And it's kind of I've played multiplayer before, but I'm kind of in Mike's bracket of players who maybe wouldn't really drift towards multiplayer too much, and would maybe much more used to playing their own kind of cinematic experience where a story's being told to them. But I want to, and obviously I'm slightly biased, but this kind of game does appeal to me for those reasons, and I want to come in and spend a ton of time in this world and see what happens and encounter other players. And I think it would be great for us to bring maybe lapsed players or new players to this experience, right? Because we want to create something that, although we've referenced games like EVE Online and DayZ, they have some pretty harsh kind of punishment and everything in there. Like DayZ, permadeath is pretty harsh in DayZ, which if you die, you lose everything. And we want to create an experience that actually broadens the the range of potential players that can come in. There has to be loss, right? If you get killed or if your ship gets sunk, you have to have some kind of consequence for that. But it's not permadeath. It's not that side of things. And so we want to create an experience that allows people who maybe get put off by some of those rough edges or kind of high barriers to entry of some of those other multiplayer shared world games. We think we can create something that actually has much broader appeal. And so it'd be really it'd be a great personal triumph if we could get you and your missus into the game, get her to put down the phone for a little bit and jump in. I think it'd be really, really fun to see your reactions.
Great. Well, we'll definitely have to check it out. This has been fun, you guys. So I will link up seaofthieves.com in the show notes so that everybody can keep track of what you guys are doing. And we'll all check out the game as soon as we can.
Cool. Phil, we need to do a follow-up. I was really looking forward to this podcast, thinking I was going to regale you with all my childhood anecdotes about pirates. I really wanted to talk about pirates for an hour. Maybe we'll do a follow-up.
I would be happy to do that. Yes, absolutely.
Treasure Island, Monkey Island, and the Goonies. That can be the theme of the hour. That'd be great.
I like it. That would be great. We'll do that.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
thank you.
Man. Great to chat.
Bye. And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Mike Chapman and Joe Neate from Rare Games about their new game coming out called Sea of Thieves. Make sure that you go to seaofthieves.com to check it out, and I know you're going to want to play it. I'm going to play it too. Remember, I said I'm going to play it. I'm going to check it out. I'm not a video game guy, but I will sit and play the game and see how it goes. Maybe I'll get hooked. Maybe I'll have a new addiction in life that will take me away from all my other addictions that take up far too much time. It'll be interesting, and we'll see if the game makes us cry, because that's what they want to do. They want to make us cry. All right, so did you get your LifeLock account yet? You got to do that, because there's video game pirates, there's cartoon pirates, there's movie pirates, but the real pirates, they're the ones out there trying to steal your identity, and it's a load of BS. It's all garbage. It's no good. Stuff gets hacked every day, and your information is out there. Get yourself a LifeLock account. They'll make sure that your information isn't hanging out there in the dark, ugly parts of the web, and if it is, they'll help you fix it. That's the best part. You can get 10% off membership real easy. Just go to underthecrossbones.com/lifelock. Click the green Start Your Membership button, and you will get 10% off. It's just that easy. And I got an ebook for you, Alexander X. Quemlin's Pirates of Panama Bay, or Buccaneers of America, whichever title you prefer. If you've never read it, fantastic piece of writing. It's from the Golden Age period, and it's real pirate stories by a real pirate. So it's all good, and you get it for free. Just go to underthecrossbones.com and click on the free ebook link. If you're out and about, if you're out doing things, living your life, getting some sun, pull out your phone and text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Just text pirate and your email address to 94253. Easy, right? And then it'll kick you back a little link to download the ebook, and you can read it right there on your phone while you're out living your life. We got comedy music today. We got my friend Jill Maragos, who's going to tell you some jokes. She's very funny. She's opened for me a bunch of times in the past few months, and very funny. She's one of my new favorite openers and new favorite comics, so you're going to dig her. And then we are going to hear something from Bone Cage today. Bone Cage is a comedy music guy, and he's funny. Funny. The song you're going to hear today is called The Puppy Song, and you can check him out at thebonecage.com, and you can find Jill at jillmaragos.com. Her last name is Maragos. Easy deal. All right, let's get into it. Comedy from Jill Maragos and The Puppy Song by Bone Cage.
I am married. I wasn't lying to him. I've been married to a really great guy. It's over 13 years, and he's wonderful. He's lovely. He's funny. He's handsome. But after 13 years, sex becomes like Wendy's chili. You know? It's good, dependable. Once in a while you find a finger where it doesn't belong. And I'm happy to be married. I am, because like a lot of stuff has changed in 13 years. People are really different. Like sexting is a thing now. My friend shows me this text he got from this girl, and he's like, she's super hot and nerdy. Look what she wrote. She wrote, I want to be the rhombus to your triangle. I'm like, that's not nerdy. Nerds are smart. That doesn't make any sense at all. Like a nerd would have written something like, you're super hot. I would love to give your logarithm. Or I would like to be the denominator to your numerator because I would love to have you on top of me. Or let's do some long division. I'll be the 100, you can be the 2, and you can go into me 50 times. That's what a nerd would have said.
Sometimes when your mind gets stuck and the music won't come out, you need to do some funny stuff to turn your luck around. Here's a little trick I learned to set my head on straight. I think about a kitty cat and I put him in a funny place, like a kitty in a jar, a kitty on a horse, a kitty in a jar inside the rectum of a horse, a kitty on a boat, a kitty on a plane, a kitty in the sternum of a corpse of a guy who was killed by North Korea. Even with this useful tip, your brain can remain blocked. But don't resign to giving in, cause here's another thought. When a kitty in a funny place just doesn't get her done, I think about a puppy dog and I put him in a funny situation. Like a puppy on a phone, driving in a car, plows into a homeless man, distracted puppy vehicular homicide. A puppy in a hat, playing in the snow. A puppy having sex with the corpse of a guy who was killed by North Korea. Kim Jong-un Bridge, Kim Jong-un Bridge, Kim Jong-un Bridge, Kim Jong-un Bridge. Sometimes you just gotta write a song, but you don't have anything to write about, your brain's not working, and you're trying to think of things to do, and you're like, well, I guess I'll just think about a puppy having sex with a corpse that was killed by a horrible dictator. That seems like a great idea. Puppy back in Vietnam saw his friends get blown apart by Charlie. A puppy swallowed up by debt, buys a gun and contemplates suicide. A puppy who is secretly gay, but he's too afraid to tell his dad, cause his dad is a raging homophobe. But that's because he's also gay. He spent his entire life alone, and he hates himself and he hates the world around him. Now we're cooking with gas, the song is over now. The song is over now. The song is over now. Go away.
And that's our show for today, friends. Thank you once again for tuning in. I appreciate it every time you do. I appreciate your emails. I appreciate your comments. Trust me, some days that stuff really keeps me going, man. So I appreciate all that stuff you guys send to me. It's very cool. If you want to find out more about Sea of Thieves, go to seaofthieves.com, and you can find out more about the company that made it at rare.co.uk. And thanks to Mike Chapman and Joe Neate for being on the show. If you want to find out more about Jill Maragos, the comedian, go to jillmaragos.com. Maragos is Maragos. And if you want to find out more about Bone Cage and hear some more of those goofy songs, go to thebonecage.com. All the show notes for this show will be at underthecrossbones.com/054. Are you subscribed on iTunes yet? Are you? Are you? Are you? If you're not, it's the easiest way to get all the new episodes downloaded right to your phone immediately. And I do like those iTunes reviews, so keep those coming as well. Trust me, things like that, they make my day. They really do. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you next week with episode number 55. Bye.